Thank you, honourable members. Um, First, a warm welcome to members of the public who are listening into this live stream this morning to hear submissions on behalf of the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defence. We have before us Mr. Sheldon Yett from UNICEF, the United Children's Fund, the United Nations Children's Fund, my apology, to brief us or submit to us the optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on the Involvement of Children in Armed Conflict. Fiji signed the Convention on the Rights of the Child, CRC, on the 2nd of July 1993 and ratified the CRC on the 13th of August 1993. The optional protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child on the Involvement of Children in Armed Conflict, the optional protocol, is an international instrument that states parties to the CRC may ratify. The optional protocol aims to protect children from recruitment and use in hostilities. It was adopted by the General Assembly on the 25th of May 2000 and entered into force on the 12th of February 2002. I welcome you again, Mr. Yett. And for the benefit of your good self, as my committee, I, Alex O'Connor, as the chair, and my members are Honourable Dr. Salik Govind, Honourable Selai Andimaitonga, and Honourable Pio Tikonduadua. Just appreciate from your good self, sir, a very brief introduction, and the submission is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Alexander O'Connor, Chairman of the Standing Committee, honorable members of the committee, Secretariat and colleagues. Let me begin by thanking you for this opportunity to reaffirm our support for the ratification of the optional protocol on the Convention of the Rights of the Child on involvement of children in armed conflict. I am Sheldon Yett, the representative of the United Nations Children's Fund to the Pacific Island countries. The work of UNICEF in Fiji and throughout the world is guided by the Convention on the Rights of the Child. To help stem the abuse and exploitation of children worldwide, the UN General Assembly in 2000 adopted 2 optional protocols to the Convention. The objective of the first optional protocol is to increase the protection of children from involvement in armed conflicts, known as the OPEC. And the objective of the second optional protocol is to protect children from sale, prostitution, and pornography. As UNICEF, we advocate for the ratification of both optional protocols. For today's purpose, our focus is on OPEC, which entered force globally in 2002, as you quite correctly indicated, Mr. Chairman, and which Fiji signed into law on the 16th of October 2005. The OPEC is a further milestone in the campaign to strengthen the legal protection of children, helping to prevent their abuse in armed conflict. The aim of the OPEC is to provide greater protection to children than is provided in Article 38 of the Convention of the Rights of the Child, which sets the minimum age of 15 years for direct participation in hostilities and recruitment in armed forces. UNICEF applauds the government of Fiji for progress and commitments made at global and national level towards progressively realizing the rights of children. In addition to ratifying the CRC, Fiji's commitment to child rights law is manifested through the ratification of the ILO conventions on the minimum age of employment and the elimination of the worst forms of child labor. Fiji has also regularly engaged with the Committee on the Rights of the Child to provide progress on the implementation of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. As part of the constructive dialogue with the government of Fiji on the 2nd and 4th periodic report on the implementation of the Convention, the Committee on the Rights of the Child recommended that the government ratify the optional protocols. Domestication of global child rights standards in Fiji is evident throughout national laws and in the 2013 Constitution, which aligns the definition of the child to that of the Convention, recognizing a child as an individual who has not reached the age of 18 years. The 2013 Constitution of Fiji explicitly recognizes the protection of the rights of children in Section 41. Section 41(1)(d) provides for the protection of children from abuse, neglect, harmful cultural practices of any form of violence, inhuman treatment and punishment, and hazardous or exploitative labor. The 2007 Employment Relations Act also makes positive steps in bringing labor standards in compliance with ILO Conventions 138 and 182. The 1949 Republic of Fiji Military Forces Act establishes that no person shall be enlisted in the forces who is under the age of 18 years. While there undoubtedly has been progress in meeting the rights of children in Fiji, more needs to be done. This will only be possible if we work together as partners in providing all children an environment that is safe and free from discrimination and harm. We recommend that the government of Fiji ratify the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child Optional Protocol on Armed Conflict. The ratification of this treaty would be another step demonstrating a commitment of the rights of all children. We encourage the government to remove the exception to Section 7.3 in the RFMF Act that allows a commander to order the enlistment of persons of or above the age of 16 years should he or she deem it necessary, despite the general requirement of 18 years. We recommend that the government consider adopting the straight 18 policy on both compulsory and voluntary recruitment in the armed forces. UNICEF encourages the following: that children are given the broadest possible protection in national laws under international human rights law. This includes explicit prohibition of compulsory and voluntary recruitment of children under 18 years in the armed forces called for in the OPAC. We also encourage that the ongoing review of national legislation be used as an opportunity to review compatibility of domestic legislation with international standards. Please consider programs to build awareness of government officials and key stakeholders as part of the broader national action plan that can strengthen implementation and help build partnerships between government, civil society, and development partners. We, as UNICEF, would be pleased to support any efforts to this effect. We ask that you also consider ratifying remaining 2 optional protocols to the convention. We welcome the government of Fiji's history of very strong engagement with the Committee of the Rights of the Child and other international human rights bodies. Fiji is due to submit to the CRC its next periodic report this September, and we call on the Fijian government to continue the timely engagement with the committee. In closing, for children, the right interventions at the right time can bolster development, break intergenerational cycles of inequity, and provide a fair start to life for every child. I want to congratulate the government for this critical proposal to ratify the OPAC. The ratification will result in further strengthening protection for the rights of all children and helps to meet Fiji's compliance with international standards. I also want to reiterate that the Fijian government is a key partner for UNICEF, and we look forward to continuing this good work that we've been doing together for so many years. Thank you again, Honorable Chair, honorable members of this committee, and Secretariat for making this dialogue possible. Vinaka, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yet, for your brief submission this morning, sir. Honorable members, you have any questions for Mr. Yet? Honorable Dr. Govind?
Yes, Mr. Sheldon, thank you for your brief but comprehensive presentation. I just wanted to know whether you have some figures from the Pacific of countries where children below the age of 18 have been employed in the military, and if so, are the countries now ratified this convention, and what are the challenges they are facing? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this very good question, sir. In the 14 Pacific Island countries that is supported by UNICEF, we have figures on a number of these countries. 4 countries have ratified the optional protocol, and that is Kiribati, FSM, Samoa, and Vanuatu. 3 countries have signed but not yet ratified this optional protocol. And those 3 countries are Fiji, Nauru, and the Solomon Islands. And we continue to work with all countries in the Pacific to ensure that their laws are consistent with best practices as codified in the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
What about Dr. Salik? That answers your question?
Yeah. I wanted to ask whether there are some figures of countries where children have been employed in military who are below 18. Do you have any facts and figures?
Facts and figures of countries in the Pacific that children are regularly employed below the 18 age of that age.
Yes.
Also want to make sure that this good record continues and there aren't any loopholes in domestic legislation, and to ensure that domestic legislation is fully compliant with best practices as outlined in the optional protocols and in the Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Pio, you have a question? Okay. All right. So we don't have any other further questions, Mr. Yet, but perhaps should we have any pressing questions during our report writing? If you don't mind, we'll get the secretary to email your good self. I take this opportunity to say thank you again for adhering to our request. And if you have any parting words, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and absolutely, we would be honored and pleased to continue our strong collaboration with your committee and continue working together with all of your members to move forward on this, to answer any questions and to provide any clarifications that may be necessary. And as UNICEF, we continue and look forward to building on our excellent relationships and work together with your committee and the government of Fiji for the sake and rights of all children throughout the country.
Thank you again, sir, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir. You too.
Thank you, honorable members.